Hi there, welcome to my AQA A-Level Revision series. This starts off with Unit 1 and that is What is Business? Before we get started with the Unit 1 syllabus, I just thought I'd remind you about the importance of command words and understanding why they're so relevant prior to going into the exam. So command words are those words that the exam board use within their exam questions, and they will come up obviously, and the exam board even gives you some guidance, and it's coming up on the screen now. So common word that are used within their question is the word analyze. Pause the video if you want to have a quick look at that and the example question, example answer. Calculate, self-explanatory, that command word. Describe is also another word that they use, as is evaluate, as is explain, as is justify, and to what extent, commonly used on the big 25 mark questions. So go back, pause the video if you want to, have a look at that. It's really important that you do go into the exam feeling confident of all the command words that they use, and that when you're faced with that, you fully understand the requirements of the question. Okay, are you looking to impress those examiners this year? Well, let's hope you are. If you use some of these words and terminology in your answers, examiners really like that. Shows the sort of depth of the level of knowledge in terms of being able to answer those questions that give really good flow to your answers. So make sure you're using some of these terms. Pause the video, make a note of a few of them, start to practice them in some of your practice questions that you'll be doing in past papers, because this will help to impress those examiners this summer. Analysis and explanation, you can use words like therefore, this means that, as a result of, consequently, this leads to, due to, in turn, for example. There's your evaluation and argument ones at the bottom there. And we have some comparison and contrast. Cause and effect, commonly used on the 9-mark question. And then you've got your strength of argument and your summarising and concluding. Do make notes of those because they could be really useful, and do use them to practice. Okay, so continuing with impressing those examiners, there's some of those words from the previous slide actually put into practice there, and examples of how you could use that in one of your answers. So let's just take the first one. Therefore, commonly used in an answer. If a business increases its advertising budget, consumer awareness is likely to rise. Therefore, sales revenue may improve. So it's an excellent connecting word that allows you to add in that point that you're trying to make to get that extra mark. Have a look at these, they're really useful. So there's your analysis and explanation. Here's your evaluation and argument. And then you have your comparison and contrasts. Cause and effect. Strength of argument. And then your summarising and concluding. Definitely worth having a read of. So now let's just have a quick look and remind ourselves at the levels that those examiners look for. So you've done your question. The examiners marked your question. They've awarded you a set of marks for however many marks it's worth. Could be a 9-mark question, 16 mark, 20 mark, and so forth. But what they also do is they try to look and see which level it actually does match to. So let's just see what we mean there. So a level 1 response on an answer is that limited response and a limited range of depth and knowledge. A level 2 response is that reasonable response with some range of depth and knowledge. A level 3 response is a good response, good range of depth and knowledge, analysis, context and range of issues brought into your answer. And of course that level 4, the one you're really looking for, is an excellent response, excellent range of depth, knowledge, context, issues and analysis. Now this up to level 3 on 12-mark questions, and of course those 16 to 25 marks can get a level 1 to 4. But I just thought it's a really excellent way of just trying to understand the different levels of response that you give in your answers is what the examiner will also be looking at, as well as trying to award you some marks. Okay, so now let's go back to the beginning. Unit 1 topics. Do you remember this unit? It was Unit 1, What is Business? It was that introductory unit that you first started out when you did the course. So this is how it's going to go. I'm going to go through all 10 units, but this video is just on Unit 1. just to remind you of the topics that came up. Now, during this presentation, I'm just going to be going through and reminding you of some of the topics, taking you up to sort of level 1, level 2. But it's down to you really to push yourself towards that level 3 and 4. I'm just here to sort of remind you what needs to be revised, and I've got an excellent template that you could use to help push yourself up to a level 3, level 4. First topic then was, why do businesses exist in the first place? Well, of course, businesses create employment, wealth, improve a business's reputation or industry reputation, or even a country's reputation. Mission statements, do you remember those? I'll be talking about those again shortly. Business objectives around profit, growth, survival, cash flow, and ethical objectives. The measurement and the importance of profit. Different business forms, do you remember those? That's sole trader, PLC, non-profit, private sector, etc. And then those issues with those different business forms, that limited and unlimited liability, ordinary share capital, market capitalization, and dividends. And the final topics for Unit 1 are these: understanding that businesses operate in that external environment. Do you remember this? And how does that affect cost and demand? And there were topics that you needed to know about: competition, market conditions, incomes, interest rates, demographic factors, and those environmental issues and fair trade. Okay, so I'm now going to introduce you to a business template that I find is exceptionally useful for doing revision, and it looks like this. So what you do is take your business topic, put it at the top there. So let's just say it's going to be mission statements. And of course, as you know, mission statements comes from Unit 1. So on the right hand side there, you put Unit 1. You do an explanation in that top left hand box of what is a mission statement. So you'll need to explain that, and then explanation as to why businesses use mission statements. What's the reasons why they do that? Are there any advantages for a business writing themselves a mission statement, and are there also any disadvantages for using a mission statement or having a mission statement? And then of course you move over to the other right hand box. Is there a formula to use with this topic? If so, what is it? What does it calculate? Show a working example. Well, as you should know, of course, mission statements doesn't come with a formula, so you can just put NA in that box for this one. Not applicable. Name some real businesses that would use this particular topic. Just to put the idea of the business topic into context, it would be really good just to name some real businesses that do. Also, to name some example business industries that would use this particular topic, like the fashion industry, the retail industry. Why do we want you to do that? Well, it just helps you to link up your knowledge and make you a little bit more confident as to what you know and what you're talking about. So the bottom box, or one of the bottom boxes, says, does this topic relate to any other business topics that you have studied so far? This is really important because this is helping you to push up towards that level 3, okay, marker, because what you're saying is, if you understood the topic mission statements, do you know and understand that it does actually connect to other topics? And that's where you bring your extra knowledge in your answers. So a vital box that you could use there. And then finally, how could you understand this topic in more depth to improve your understanding and grade? What is it that you can take from this particular business topic to improve your knowledge and confidence in this answer? To me, this is an excellent template. I feel that this template would help you answer any 9 marker, any 12 marker, 16 marker, possibly even 25 marker, on sort of most questions, just by using this particular template. Really boost your knowledge, boost your confidence, and then you throw in some of those command words and the words that we've just been looking at into your answers, and I feel like it could really help to boost your overall grade. Let's now look at a completed example. Okay, so here it is, mission statements as mentioned. Unit 1, there it is, and there's the explanation as to what a mission statement is. And you can see that I've just tried to explain what a mission statement is, purpose of it, and then of course, why do businesses actually use mission statements? Well, it adds purpose and values, provides direction for the future, and it can motivate employees. Great, it's a really good, easy way of understanding a topic. Are there any advantages to the business in using that? Well, it does enhance the brand identity, can motivate your staff. Missions can help set clear objectives and priorities for the business. Are there any disadvantages of a business using a mission statement? Well, of course, it can be too vague, or some unrealistic mission statements are too broad or over ambitious, making them ineffective. Again, you can bring all this into your answer. There's no formula, as we've mentioned, but here's some real businesses that do use mission statements. Tesco's, Rolls-Royce, Unilever are just example businesses that you could bring into your answer. And then name some business industries. Well, the retail industry is commonly, they do use mission statements. The finance industry, automotive industry as well. Now, this is the crucial box. Does the topic relate to any other business topics that you have studied so far? Well, yes, it does. It links to business objectives, of course. It does link to business strategy. You know, if you're going to have a strategy, it's going to be linked closely to your mission statement. Or if you're changing strategy, are you going to change your mission statement? It also links to the business culture. It's about growth and expansion, and of course, it can connect with marketing and branding. So it's a vital box there to help you start connecting topics or other business subjects that you can bring into your answer on a mission statement. How could you understand this topic in more depth to improve your understanding and grade? Well, you could apply it to real world examples, link it to other business topics as just mentioned, do some practice questions, download a case study on a mission statement to be able to answer it, and then also maybe create your own mission statement for a business that you're making up, so you get an understanding of what a mission statement actually does. But I would say practice questions is probably the key to understanding mission statements and bringing in those connecting topics. Okay, so another thing that you can do for Unit 1, it sounds a bit basic, but also really useful, is just getting to know some of the terminology that's connected with Unit 1. Because a word could come up in an exam, and if it's a word that you've not heard of or a word that you've missed out on your revision, how are you going to be able to write about it in your exam? Well, you're not going to be able to because you don't actually know what the word means. So I would say download some kind of terminology guide, something similar to like this, that has a big list of the terminology that's connected with the unit. And if it's a word that you don't understand, then you need to fill it in. So for example, if you know what fixed costs are, and of course you should do on this particular course, you don't need to fill that in. But do you know, and have you got an explanation as to what is the tertiary sector? What's transformation? Okay, what are public corporations? These are words that could catch you out perhaps. I'm not saying they will, but they could. And so it's vital that you have a quick look at the terminology that's connected with Unit 1 to help you through the unit. And of course you need to do this another 9 times because there's another 9 units. There's a lot of words that you need to know, new words that you may not have heard of before, and they could come up in the exam. So get to know your terminology and do something similar. So let's quickly jump back to one of the topics in Unit 1, and why does business exist in the first place? Well, to make a profit, of course, potentially. Of course, you need to recognise and understand that there are businesses out there that aren't about making a profit. Anyway, so also to provide products and services. Okay, that's important to have an understanding. You need to know what the difference is, of course, between a product and a service, as I'm sure you do. Business exists to create employment and wealth, contributes to society, and also maybe to achieve social and ethical goals. Some businesses, of course, can improve a business's reputation, a country's reputation, and just business as a whole. So we also mentioned in the syllabus example business objectives. So what is a business objective? Well, it's an objective set by managers because they want the business to try and achieve something or do something. So let's have an example look at that, and we mentioned some of them. Here's an explanation and an example, so do take a look at this. So profit. If the business has a profit objective, it means, of course, that the business is aiming to increase its net income by reducing its costs and increasing its sales revenue. So more sales, less costs leads to more profit. An example, a clothing retailer aims to achieve a 20% increase in net profit within the next financial year. Growth objective, example there for you as well, as is survival. Okay, you need to understand why do businesses go into that survival objective? What happens? What triggers them to want to do that? Cash flow, why is that important? And of course, you may also have another business objective, which is ethical. You need to understand, of course, that businesses may do more than one of these objectives. It doesn't mean that they just have to have one. And if they did have just one, maybe they'd be missing out on other areas of growth by not having other objectives. If they're just focusing, say, on one thing, for example, profit, they may miss other opportunities. So it's good to have objectives, keeps businesses running, keeps them motivated, keeps staff motivated, gives them purpose, and that's the reasons for objectives. So the importance of profit also comes up in Unit 1, and it is important that you understand why profit is so important to business. Well, it is sometimes about survival and sustainability if you're making money, and some businesses, of course, not all, need to make a profit to cover costs and continue operating long term. Expansion and growth, that's also another reason. Profits can be reinvested into the business for new product development, market expansion, or technological upgrades. Investor and shareholder confidence. If your business is going well and you're making a profit, then it's likely that investors and shareholders will want to keep investing in your business. Higher profits attract investors and increase share value. Reward and for entrepreneurship as well. Business owners and entrepreneurs take risks, and profit serves as that financial reward for their efforts. And ability to handle risks and economic downturns. A profitable business has reserves to survive those economic downturns, unexpected costs, and market changes. So this table is important to understand those different business forms. They are on the syllabus, so you do need to know about these because a question could come up. So you need to understand the different business forms and the advantages and disadvantages and so forth. So you can pause the video now. I'm not going to go through all of this, but you can see obviously I've got the business forms that you need to know about from the syllabus, which is sole trader partnership, private limited company, public limited company, franchise and social enterprise. Cooperative isn't on there, however it is on this table, just throwing that one in there. And you've got a definition, main features and advantages and disadvantages. I would recommend watching a tutor to you video on this as well, on the different business forms that's out there, because this is a topic that can be easily confusing, so it's maybe one that you need to go over a few times. But those different business forms, and when you set up a business, you have to kind of drop your business into one of those brackets. So are you going to be a sole trader and work for yourself? Are you going to be in a partnership? Are you going to be a private limited company, and so forth? All different types of business forms that you need to be aware of going forward. So also from the syllabus is those issues with different business forms. Now, I feel like I'm only really giving you a sort of level 1, level 2 answer here, but it's just to remind you of what you do need to go away and revise as well. Again, there's some videos on this that you could go and watch. There's the textbook to make some notes, or do speak to your teacher if these are still confusing terms. So it's that limited versus unlimited liability, and unlimited liability is riskies for owners, but limited liability means more legal admin requirements. That's the issue that's related to limited and unlimited. So you still need to go away and revise what it means. Ordinary share capital means selling shares raises money but reduces ownership and control. So it's a bit like if you have a business and you sell part of your business off, okay, by selling shares, and of course you're not actually the owner of your business anymore, and you perhaps might not have full control over the decisions. That's the issue with ordinary share capital. Market capitalization, of course, as you possibly know, share prices affect the value of that, making the company vulnerable to market changes and takeovers. But do you actually know what market capitalization is? And of course, finally, dividends. You should know what dividends are. So dividends is that payment out to shareholders, it's a share of the profits from those public limited companies and other companies, of course, but paying too many dividends reduces the reinvestment of the business. If you're giving away all your profits to your shareholders in dividends, then of course that money can't be reinvested back into the business. But of course, on the flip side of that, whilst not paying them or not giving them a dividend may also drive them away and may not make the company an attraction for investors, for shareholders. But there you go, slightly difficult area. I would say it needs revisiting, one to revise, one to make note of. So now let's have a look at this, that knowing that the businesses operate within an external environment that influences their costs and demand for their products. What does that mean? Well, it means very simply that you have a business. Let's just take a bakery, for example, that operates and opens every day selling rolls, donuts, whatever it sells. Okay, but realizing, okay, that there is an external environment out there, there's a world out there outside of the business that's changing all the time, and if you don't have an awareness of what's going on the outside, it can suddenly start to have an impact on your business on the inside. So for example, if you never read a newspaper, never turned the television on, and you didn't realize that there were tough economic times at the moment, and you were wondering why people weren't coming into your bakery, well, that could be some of the reasons. It's vital that you keep an eye out for those external factors, things that are going on in the world that could have an impact on your business. And one of those, of course, is the competition. That's the effect on cost and, of course, the effect on demand. And so that's what they want you to know about when it comes to this syllabus. Also, market conditions, just mentioned about that. So changes in supply chain conditions, such as raw material prices, labour shortages, can drive costs up and down. If you didn't know about that was happening, you'd be wondering what was happening to your business. So the effect on demand, also incomes, people's incomes. So higher wages may increase labour costs, whilst lower wages might reduce them. And also effect on demand. If consumer incomes rise, demand for luxury goods and services increases, and if incomes fall, demand shifts towards more friendly budget or essential goods. There you go. Interest rates can also have an impact on your business, believe it or not, and there's the effect on the costs and the impact it could have on demand for your products and services. So two more along the same subject of the external environment, and it's those demographic factors, the effect on the costs, okay, and the effect on demand. Okay, demographic factors and environmental issues and fair trade, the effect on the cost and the effect on the demand. You may need to read up on this a little bit more, read the textbook, maybe do practice questions on this. You've really got to get a good understanding that businesses do operate within that external environment. And of course, what does that link nicely to? Well, it links nicely to the business tool, the PESTLE, where many businesses do that PESTLE, as you probably know, looking at those political, economic, social, technological, legal and environmental things that go on, and it helps the business to assess kind of where they fit and what's going on in the outside world that could have an impact on the business internally. So that brings me to the end of the revision for Unit 1. Like I say, it's not gone into loads of depth, so what is it that you need to do now? I've gone over a few topics, reminded you mainly what Unit 1 is about, but what can you do going forward? Well, you can watch some YouTube videos, like I've mentioned already. Jim at Tutor2U does some excellent YouTube videos on some of those topics. Do watch that. You can also do some note taking from the book. You may have also taken your own notes in class right back at the beginning in September. Likely you do have some notes when the course started. You could of course do some practice questions. That goes without saying. There are lots of questions that you can do connected nicely with this Unit 1. You could also do the practice multiple choice questions. I've put these together on my Google Classroom, but of course you won't be able to access those, but they could be there. If you want them, just let me know and I will make them available on my channel. And look at that terminology guide. Remember what I was saying, you need to get used to and understand some of the terminology that's associated with each unit. You want to have as much understanding of business terminology as possible going into that exam. And also, goes without saying, work on what you don't know or understand first. So something that's really bugging you, could be those different business forms. That's your starting point. Don't necessarily always have to start right at the beginning on Unit 1, because you may fully understand most of those topics I said at the beginning, but work on what you don't know first, okay, because that's the stuff that you need to bring up to a sort of that level 2, 3 and 4, okay. And of course, next up I'll be doing a video on, of course, Unit 2, managers and leaders. Look out for that, please. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.